Hey everybody, welcome back to Yays and Booze for last night's episode of Friday Night SmackDown presented by World Wrestling Entertainment on the USA Network. Welcome, happy to have you. I'm happy to be here. I think probably going to be a little bit of a shorter one. A lot of the takes today aren't really about much else. It's kind of one big headline grabbing subject. But we're going to talk about all things War Games lead ups, what happened on SmackDown, blah, blah. If you're new to Yays and Booze, it's basically just hot takes. You give me your hot take, I give it a yay or a boo. It just means I agree or I disagree, but everyone's opinions are their own. Before we get started, please leave your likes, comments, subscribe, share the video, tell a friend, hit my Patreon, patreon.com/JohnMoonsault for weekly wrestling match watch-alongs. Fun time over there. All right, first one without further ado. Good to see LA Knight get a victory. If Roman is not in War Games, would like to see LA Knight added with all the history he's had with the Vision. Okay, overall, I'll give this a yay. I wouldn't hold your breath for LA Knight being added to War Games. I think you even said it yourself. If not Roman, it's gonna be Roman. We just got Jimmy added to War Games, so I think we're gonna have Roman kind of added to, do the whole OG bloodline. We're kind of back and we're not back. We can kind of trust each other, and some of us like each other and some of us don't. And you know who's going closer to the dark side or turning closer to that old evil tribal chief is Jey Uso. So I think Roman Reigns will be the one added. Now, again, I gave us a yay, so I do agree with you. It's something that Jimmy and I have talked about numerous times on the pod at this point. I don't know what's going on with LA Knight. He should be like you said, he has all this history with the Vision, and he was feuding with CM Punk leading up to like all this War Games stuff at this time. So it would make sense. I don't know what sort of humiliation ritual Triple H wants to or is putting LA Knight through. Now again, this is all wrestling, so everything is kind of a grain of salt. I mentioned last week or in some other video that LA Knight had a promo in Boston at that episode of Raw. It was during a commercial and he also got cut off. This is wrestling. Everything happens for a reason. Sometimes things are real life. He could have actually got cut off, could actually be pissed. But again, I've said it three or four times at this point. Wrestling is wrestling. So this could all be on purpose, and you kind of get speculation built off TV. Rumors start to circle. Tweets start to circle about like, hey, this happened at LA Knight and I was in Boston. And then he starts losing matches on TV. And you kind of build up this thing about LA Knight, basically trying to break him down to build him up. I won't go on this whole other conversation. I just put out a video on the Sash Club channel, a Reddit video kind of talking about, it was called, Is LA Knight the New Daniel Bryan? So maybe they're trying to, be smart about it and actually break down LA Knight to build him up to the fans' appeasement, I guess. I don't know what's true and what's not. Either way, it was what this is about. We're looking at War Games. I wouldn't hold your breath. I don't know if LA Knight's going to be in War Games, but LA Knight victory, cool. We're going to talk more about who he faced later, probably next, but cool. All right, moving on. All right, obviously, we're talking about Matt Cardona, ZACK RYDER next. There were a couple in here about Matt Cardona, so apologies if yours wasn't the one selected, but I saw all the Matt Cardona, ZACK RYDER heads out there. But this one says, hopefully this means Cardona is back for the long haul. I don't like that he's ZACK RYDER again, but man, I'm a huge Cardona mark, so even just seeing him on SmackDown brought a tear to my eye. I rewatched his entrance at least a dozen times before I went to bed. I'll give this a yay for sure. Now, maybe I'm not a Matt Cardona mark, but I'm a big fan of Matt Cardona. I like what he has done for himself outside of the WWE post ZACK RYDER. I love the indie god thing. I've seen him a couple of times on the indie scene. He's great. He's a draw. He's still so good in the ring. And I've seen a lot of discourse. At this point, I think discourse is a discourse for sake of discourse, where yes, it doesn't make sense for a multitude of reasons why he's back as ZACK RYDER. Well, first of all, before I even go down that road, the first thing you said, I don't know if he's here for the long haul. In general, I'm giving this a yay. I forget if I said it or not, because it was cool to see him back, but I haven't seen anything about him signing a contract or whatever. To me, this screams one-off. I really don't think he's back for the long haul. However, and we'll talk about it a little later, so I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, did get a new theme song or a remix version of his theme song, and he has a t-shirt right now, or a couple of t-shirts out on the wshop.com. Would they do that for just a one-off? Probably. It is, at least on the t-shirt side of things, it is capitalism, it is money, it is a money grab, a quick little t-shirt sale, they're going to do it every time. But I don't know. I don't think he's here for the long haul. I'd love it. I think it'd be cool. I love, there was a photo he took with Triple H afterward, then he took a photo with Chelsea Green afterward, holding like the same exact pose. If I can find him, I'll put him on the screen, but like same exact pose in each picture. Don't know how he did that. Really impressive. But then to the point of him being ZACK RYDER again. Ultimately, I'll be honest, I don't really care. I can't believe people care this much. Now, maybe people don't care that much, but like, I don't really care. If I were to take a stance, it is kind of lame he came back as Zack Ryder. On the WWE side of things, like that was probably who made the decision. Some interview clip or whatever is making the rounds of him being like, Zack Ryder is dead. Maybe 1 or 2 years ago, Zack Ryder is dead. I'm Matt Cardona. If I were to go back to WWE, I'd be Matt Cardona. WWE brings him back for NXT, and he does wrestle as Matt Cardona. I think maybe because, I don't know, WWE considers NXT their like indie scene or whatever, and they'll use stuff from, I don't know what I'm saying. But either way, in WWE canon, he did come back as Matt Cardona. NXT is WWE, right? So I don't know, maybe if I'm getting in the heads of the WWE writers or people who are making the rules, maybe they were like, in WWE's, I think WWE doesn't think too highly of the indies, in the sense like we are the A+ players in the indie scene. Like we don't, they are nothing. We are the ones that make everything. And I think there's a little bit of discredit there to what he's built as Matt Cardona. So my guess is like whoever was in charge was thinking, call it egotistically or not, on WWE's side of like, oh, well, the people aren't going to know who Matt Cardona is. If we want that big pop or whatever, we have to call him Zack Ryder, get a, for some reason, remix version of his theme song that's apparently by Downstate, not Down Straight, if you know, you know. And on that thing, for some reason, like, oh, even when he comes out, people won't like recognize his face, so we really have to shove down the Zack Ryder thing. And I don't know, maybe WWE is just like, he was Zack Ryder here, he's going to be Zack Ryder forever on the main roster. I don't know. And maybe I was downplaying it. Or like, I don't think it's a big deal, and I'm kind of like, who gives a shit? Especially if it's like a one-off, like who cares? But maybe I was being hyperbolic to begin with. I do understand why people are bringing up the discourse, because it might be a respect thing or a whatever of, either way, regardless of how much I'm maybe dismissing it, I am on the side of like, he should have come back as Matt Cardona. I think it would have been cool. And commentators could have played that. There was one commentary thing also that I got a second to talk about the commentators too during this. Someone on commentary, whoever it was, whether it was Cole or who was on commentary last night, Barrett? No, Graves. Cole and Graves last night? Whatever. I think Graves was like, and he's gone out and made a name for himself under a different name, but that's neither here nor there. And they did like a little bit like, we know he's not. I don't know. It was kind of lame to me. Also, speaking of the commentators, there was also a tweet going around of just like, when Zack Ryder came out, and you just listen to the commentators, the tweet was like, it's as if they just took like Cole and Graves out and replaced them with just like WWE 2K bot commentators. He comes out and then instantly you hear like the little, Graves doing the, you're not gonna get frosted tips again, Cole. No, I'm not, Graves. And it was just like, I don't know. I'm not doing it justice, but it's very, you listen to that back and it's very just like so by the book of just like, could it be? No way, Cole. I think it is. Oh, what are we back in? I don't know. It was kind of lame. It almost felt like commentary of, heyday or years past when like you had the big man in your ear, But I don't know. As much as I was like, who gives a shit about this? Maybe now I'm just talking about stuff that who gives a shit about. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? But also, sometimes it's important to give a shit. Both tournament matches had guys casually kicking out of finishers. Jay kicking out of the skull crushing finale and LA Knight kicking out of the Rough Rider. I really miss the era where finishers finished the match. I can understand for big events, but a random episode of SmackDown, especially for the former, where I'm surprised Mello didn't appear to cost Miz the match. I agree. I'm actually glad this is here, so I'm giving this a yay fully. When I was watching SmackDown, like that's the first thing I thought when the Miz hit his skull crushing finale on Jay and Jay kicked out. Like I, uninfluenced by anything, I did have that knee-jerk reaction. I'm just kind of like, oh, what? Like, you don't really need to be kicking out of finishers on like a TV show. Like I do agree with you, not just say what you were saying, but I do agree with you. I think and miss the era of if you're gonna kick out of a finisher, it has to be a big moment and save for a big match. And like, sure, you can argue these tournament matches are big, but like I think on TV you can have finishers finish matches. And again, and I know like the skull crushing finale, isn't the most protected finisher. And I do understand there's like rankings here, and maybe like Roman Reigns' spear is probably stronger than the Miz's skull-crushing finale, and not everything needs to be as protected as everything. But also, in a similar sense, I also think they kind of do. The skull-crushing finale, like, should, like, end the match. I don't know. Does it make it a little more exciting? Sure. Like, I'd be lying, if I wasn't sitting here being like, kickouts to finishers get me. It gets me for sure. And even to the point, like you said, of LA Knight kicking out of Rough Rider, I'm not going to go as far as say it, like, buries these moves, these wrestlers, but it is a little bit of just, like, I don't know. I don't want to talk in circles here. I always say that. I hope I don't do that, but it felt unnecessary, and maybe I'm just a Miz defender because I'm focusing on that, but like I don't know. I do think Miz should have won. While we're here, I'm also going to say, one, Skull Crush finale being kicked out of is just like dumb and annoying. And not just like that, it's other finishers. I'm fully on the camp, not to be unk about it, but also Jey Uso beat The Miz, and I think The Miz and Zack Ryder both should have won. They both have more history with John Cena. They're both in, from John Cena's prime time era. It is still playing on the nostalgia of it all. We had Sheamus win, which I think was great. Not that Sheamus is a nostalgia act, but you know what I mean. I would have preferred the likes of, if we're talking about a John Cena legacy tournament, to me, it makes more sense for a Miz and Zack Ryder to go over than a Jey Uso and LA Knight, two wrestlers who have really nothing to do with John Cena. And it's fine. Like, there is the other conversation that this tournament kind of sucks because everyone is so old, and there really isn't so far someone that's like, oh, this is the person that should retire John Cena. This is the person. Now, okay, I'm talking about 8 things at once, but I'm gonna touch on who was announced for the tournament. I know this is kind of becoming just a whole SmackDown review, but apparently I have a lot to say. A big criticism of this tournament right now is that, like, hey, like, even though John Cena did say during Saturday's main event he wants NXT people doing exhibition matches with WWE people, I do think it would have been cooler to see in this tournament, like, a Braun Breaker, and we did get a Carmelo Hayes added, and low-key, at this point, Carmelo Hayes should absolutely be the one to win the whole thing. I think this tournament would be cool, and everything would be beneficial if a young guy like Carmelo Hayes gets put over. They're both Boston guys. Carmelo Hayes win the IC title, and retiring John Cena would be cool. Also, people have had a problem with me saying the term retiring John Cena. Sometimes, hey, listen, sometimes words are just words, right? Sometimes we're just conversating. You don't have to focus in on every single word. But in the sense, if Carmelo Hayes goes on, like, I know, like either way, John Cena, win or lose, is going to retire. So ultimately, he's retiring himself. But especially for a heel or whatever, like Carmelo Hayes winning that match and beating John Cena is in his last match is kind of, in a way, maybe metaphorically or whatever, him retiring John Cena. Like I said, he was falling on his own sword regardless and retiring either way. But we don't have to get too deep about it. If I'm saying he's retiring John Cena, sometimes it's not like that. It's not like it was, if John Cena wins, he's retired, he continues his career. I understand that. But like, come on, if Carmelo Hayes wins and beats John Cena, and that's something to hang his hat on. We can say, like, I faced John Cena in his last match, and I prevented him from winning his last match. I retired John Cena. You know what I mean? Sure, it's a little hyperbolic Healy thing, but, like, you know what I mean? I think it's still fine. I feel like I talked about 8 things at once. Okay, let's refocus here. Maybe I said my piece here. Skull Crush finale shouldn't be kicked out of. Finisher thing, it's kind of a big discourse, but I'm glad it's still being talked about. Zack Ryder, Miz probably should have both started to go or went over. This tournament has been kind of critiqued about how lame it is, and there should be younger people in it, and Carmelo Hayes at this point should win the whole thing. I think we covered that. All right, next. I enjoy seeing Zack Ryder coming back, but the remix theme song sucked in my opinion. Yeah, this is getting a yay. That theme did suck. I was so excited. When I saw, like, the Zack Ryder thing come up and whatever, I was so excited to hear the woo, 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 oh, radio. That was bad. I got cold. But, like, that's what I wanted. And then we just got some bullshit where it was like, woo, woo, and it sucked. I won't spend too much time on this. I spent so much time on all these hot takes. People are saying he got Def Rebelled. Apparently he got Def Rebelled. And low-key, his theme song before this was already Def Rebel-esque. Granted, the theme song that came after the intro was really great, but he still had that. You already had the Def Rebel intro. You didn't need to change anything. You already had that woo, woo, woo. That's exactly what they love. And for some reason, like, why did they need to change it? I don't know. It's stupid. I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is a yay. Next. Is it just me, or does the Morrissey Machine Guns make no sense in that 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series match that's happening in a few weeks? I guess I'd have to hear more elaboration on this. Okay, right. I did remember. So it's going to be the MFTs versus Sami Zayn, Morrissey Machine Gun, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Rey Fenix. Honestly, it kind of just felt like a whole, like, hey, we want to do a Survivor Series sort of tag sort of thing. Let's get everyone out there. These people have been friendly with each other, but I don't know. Screw it. Whatever. No, you know what? Not screw it. Whatever. I don't have too strong an opinion about Morrissey Machine Guns being in it. It's fine. It is kind of, I don't know. They feel out of place. They feel not out of place. That whole side of the team does it. They all kind of feel out of place with each other a little bit. So I don't have much to say on that. I'll give you a yay. Here, take a yay. More so, what doesn't make any sense is, why is this 5-on-5 Survivor Series traditional Survivor Series? Traditional Survivor Series. Hear those two words? Traditional Survivor Series. on SmackDown. Why? Why does it happen on SmackDown? How come SmackDown has all of a sudden become this thing where it's like, this would be a cool match to have on this PLE, but we're not going to put it on the PLE. We're going to put it on that SmackDown. They've done it at WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure they did it around Money in the Bank. But like, remember like the WrestleMania tag ladder match or whatever that should have been on Mania and they got like relegated to SmackDown? I think it's happened a couple more times, but SmackDown is like, again, it's a Survivor Series match. Again, Survivor Series is War Games. You have it should, like, if you have 2 War Games matches, let me be clear about this. If you have the 2 War Games matches, it would be crazy to put another 5-on-5 traditional tag, right? So I get it in that sense, but to me, it is just kind of like, about like, you want to have it, but you don't, so you half-ass want to have it, so you're still calling it a traditional Survivor Series match, but you're not putting it on Survivor Series. I would say, put it on Survivor Series. Take the risk of having too many, like, multi-people elimination things, but if you want to do it. Don't just half-ass it and be like, we want to have something on a PLE, but we're not going to put it on the PLE because we're too risky about, I don't know, the wrestlers in it or whatever, and we don't want to have a great time. We only want to have a good time. We're going to put it on SmackDown. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one thinking that. It's cool that it'll happen on SmackDown. Whatever. It'll be fun, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being traditional and, again, about it. And it's like, but if you're having a traditional Survivor Series match, put it on Survivor Series. And here come the comments. Well, here's 12 different examples of it not happening. Because I know they've done stuff on Raw and like whatever, but I want to go back to the way things used to be. All right, next. They gotta stop the DQ endings to end the show. It's the worst way to end a show, in my opinion, especially when it feels there's always a DQ happening. I'm giving this a yay. Wow, clean. I think a clean sweep of yays. A little shorter one though. I don't know if it's gonna be a sweep yay city. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. I feel like I get a hot take about this every single week, and I talk about this all the time, where it's like, yeah, SmackDown was fine this week. I think it was better than that train wreck last week. It wasn't a train. It was fine. It wasn't a train wreck. But like, we kind of, especially with it being for the WWE title and it being Cody and Bronson Reed and the build up to Survivor Series, like, I get it. The DQ and people coming in to save X, Y, and Z. It builds up to the teams and the Survivor Series of it all and seeing these people together before the big match in a couple weeks. Like, I get it. It all makes sense. But I do agree that the DQ finish with the same people at the end, and it is a little eye roll at this point, but I had this conversation every single week, and I don't feel like having it this week, so I'm gonna give you a yay, and we're gonna end the video here. Folks, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Leave some hot takes in the comments I didn't mention. What'd you agree with? What'd you disagree with? Please follow me on everything. Check out my Patreon for weekly match watch along. Stash Club stuff is going crazy over there. I appreciate you being here. I'll see you next time. Peace.